it comes to the TV show The Penguin, I'm going to be completely honest, I found it to be such a fascinating watch for so many reasons. Firstly, I just love how dark this show is. Now, just from a violence point of view, but the language we get as well. Whilst the film does have quite a lot of swearing, this takes it to a whole new level. I just love the creativity that they are given on this show as they are allowed to swear as much as they like. It takes you by surprise at first because you don't realise that it's connected to a movie franchise which admittedly was dark in the language, but this expands upon it and it makes it feel so much more realistic, which I really love. I love the freedom they have been given. But going back to the violence, there's such an amount and no one is above committing it. We are hit with so much violence within the first episode. It becomes normalised, not only to us as an audience, but we realise that Gotham has been normalised to this amount of violence. Another thing I loved is that this show keeps us on its toes in the very early episodes, as we see Oswald Cobblepot playing a double agent for both the Falcone and Maroney families. And it's just fascinating to see how he is getting away with betraying one particular family for another family, but then betraying both families for himself. And it's just fascinating to see how he does it if he ever gets caught. Not only that, but he has a partner called Victor, and we're kind of thinking, is he going to be the one that gets Penguin exposed, or is he purposely going to get Penguin exposed, or is he going to stick with Penguin to the bitter end? So many questions that it just enthralls you watching this show. Something I truly loved about this show is how they expand upon Gotham and add a bit more layers to it within the wealthy and poor situation, as due to the flooding, Gotham is stripped to the bare minimum, but we see the wealthy are the ones getting that bare minimum with electricity and power and such forth. But the people in poverty, they are suffering. They don't even have police in that area. They don't really even have power, and we see them fighting for scraps in some situations. And what I also love about this show is they are adding to the foundations of corruption the film The Batman set up in a beautiful way. We're seeing a whole bunch of forces being so easily corrupted, whether it being the police with money, whether it being the DA with promises of level careering as long as they put a particular criminal away by trusting another particular criminal, or whether it's the doctors in Arkham ignoring the patient for a particular favour owed to them by a particular mob boss. It's just fascinating, and I love the layers that are added upon. Not only do they do a great deal of layering with the city, but the characters as well, whether it being the protagonist, that being Oswald Cobblepot, just learning about his childhood and seeing how it affected him and made him who he is today, or whether it be the antagonist of the show who was wrongfully sent to Arkham. We just learn about who she was before she was sent to Arkham and how the treatment of Arkham made her worse than before. But the best developed character is the character of Victor, who is this poverty-stricken child who lived in the poorer areas of Gotham, who sadly became an orphan due to the flooding created by the Riddler. And we see he is taken under the Penguin's wing, and we see the development of this character being more confident, not only in himself, but with getting involved in the type of stuff that the Penguin is also involved in. He's becoming very smart. It's just great to see this character develop further. But another great thing that I loved, again expanding, is we learn about the Falcone mafia family, and it's intriguing as it's not something we really touch upon in the Batman arc. I think there's hints and elements out of the Falcones and the Maronis, but they don't dive deep enough, at least not in the mainstream of things. And so to see it in this show was truly intriguing. I was hooked by the way it expanded and we learnt about the Falcone family, and not only that, the reason why the Falcones and the Maronis are feuding. Again, I just think they dived into such intriguing stories that some TV shows or movies wouldn't dare touch upon because it's not as fascinating as, say, the Joker or so forth. So kudos to them. When it comes to the finale, honest to God, it was a great episode. And we just learned that due to the disturbed actions that Oswald did as a child. His mother lost all love for him and at one point nearly had him murdered. We're just seeing that Oswald is such a manipulative and gaslighting human being to everyone around him. Doesn't matter whether it's family or if it's close friends, he manipulates everyone. But we see that it works out as he is able to get low-life criminals back on his side, and he is able to take out his competition, and we really see that he has somewhat kept his word. But at the same time, it's not all good news for Oswald, as he does lose a few people very close to him, whether that was by choice or it was out of his hands. Now, my main criticism of this show, which I think a lot of people would also talk about, is the lack of Batman, as there is a lot of crime going on and you would think Batman would be intervening at some point. Another criticism is I was a bit baffled to see these criminals committing crimes during the night, as I thought, like in The Dark Knight, they would do it during the day out of fear of the Batman approaching them and stopping them. I'm kind of baffled to see criminals not having that level of fear of Batman yet, but maybe because Batman is still in his infancy stage, the fear has not been developed in too much yet. We saw glimpses of the fear in The Batman, so maybe in a sequel we'll see that fear, and hopefully we will learn why Batman was not interfering with a lot of these crimes in the sequel as well. Now, overall, I really did love this show. It was very dark and disturbed, which I really loved. I love that this show has a lot of creative freedom that the film couldn't do because of damage to box office and so forth. So again, I love that. I love that there's so much depth and layers to not only the characters but the city as well, and they do such great world building for this franchise, a franchise which only really has one film and one TV series, which so far so good. This is something I really want, not only more of for this particular franchise, but franchise as a whole. I think it'd be a great use of world building for all of franchises. We've had glimpses here and there, but this is definitely a great example of what we as an audience want from a franchise. Is this good? Honest to God, I think it's fantastic. Rating wise, it's a 9 out of 10. Now when it comes to would I rewatch it, 100%, like I just said. The world building, the entertainment factor, like this is a very action-packed show, but it's more than that. That's what I really love. It's the character building, it is the world building, it's the story. It's just also hooking. And when it comes to recommendations, of course I recommend The Batman, as that it was the foundation that this show built upon. Not only that, but I think that particular film is so different from the other Batman movies that it's a great film. It stands on its own 2 feet. Next, I do recommend Tim Burton Batman movies, but specifically Batman Returns, as it also has the Penguin, and it has a different origin story from the comic book sources, and it is an intriguing take on the character of the Penguin. I think the writing and story was great. I also think Danny DeVito did an exceptional performance. My next recommendation and last recommendation is the TV show Gotham, which again took the character of Oswald Cobblepot and definitely developed him into the character we know and love. They definitely used more of the source material compared to the Tim Burton movies, seeing him as like just an umbrella man and then becoming the Penguin. I found that greatly fascinating. Not only because of that, but I also recommend it because of the Sal Maroni and Carmine Falcone connection as well, as that show does also touch upon it. Not too as much as this, but they did a fair deal of touching upon those characters. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for the TV show The Penguin. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.